young one. No need to thank me. I'm not so sure you'll like what you find.
Episode 1 of BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea isn't a story that sheds new light on the worlds that inspired it, but a gimmick. This 90-minute downloadable side story uncomfortably merges the worlds of Rapture and Columbia, and damages BioShock's enduring legacy by doing so.
Look.
Fontaine's. Ryan sent the whole thing to the bottom.
But it's a prison now. Why would Cohen have sent Sally there?
I don't know.
Burial at Sea is about moments. Beautiful moments, sad moments, perplexing moments. They often tug at your heart or stimulate your imagination, but don't connect in any meaningful way. The opening is such a moment. Elizabeth enters Booker DeWitt's office, but she's not the Elizabeth you once knew. The femme fatale blows cigarette smoke into the air and shows Booker a photograph of a young girl. As it happens, Booker knows this girl, and her identity is Burial at Sea's core mystery. When you leave Booker's office, it isn't Columbia that greets you, but the underwater city of Rapture. But this is not the dystopian Rapture of BioShock. It's alive and gorgeous, and at first you might find yourself drawn in by this side of the city you've never seen. Women busy themselves by applying makeup outside of busy department stores, and men discuss the philosophies behind Rapture's creation. It's a stark and intriguing contrast to the dystopian version you explore in the original BioShock. But it soon becomes obvious that the people you see aren't living in this space, but function only as audio logs, dumping information on you before returning to their silent poses. Of course, you saw the same behavior in BioShock Infinite, but in such a short adventure, the dialogue contrivances feel really scripted. As one aspect of world building, such dialogue can be magical. But we already know Rapture, and these residents have little to say that we haven't already heard.
Having a benevolent dictatorship takes care of that.
Benevolence isn't human nature.
And that's Burial at Sea Episode 1 in a nutshell. It's out of place. Irrational Games has used BioShock Infinite's ending as a license to mess with these worlds and characters, and excuse any resulting oddities as an aspect of the multiverse. For instance, once you reach Frank Fontaine's abandoned department store and come face to face with the resident splicers, you encounter Rapture's versions of sky rails. But outside of Columbia's spacious skyscapes, rails are significantly less enjoyable to use. The rail network is limited, and riding them never has the joy it did when you had an array of platforms to land on and an open vista to gawk. Elizabeth's ability to tear holes into space-time and bring helpful objects, like gun turrets and ammo stashes, into existence is also an odd fit. Elizabeth quickly explains the ability away, and Booker immediately starts to order Elizabeth to create tears without any additional explanation. Sure, you understand tears, but Booker has no context for them, so it's weird that he understands their full usefulness in a matter of seconds.
Where'd you find that?
You don't expect a girl to share all her secrets, do you, Mr. DeWitt?
And for the most part, you still use the same vigors as you did in Columbia, though of course they're called plasmids here. Burial at Sea takes Columbia's mechanics and applies them to Rapture without regard for whether they're thematically consistent or if they complement the gameplay. Considering how far Burial at Sea goes out of its way to suggest that this Rapture you're visiting is largely the same as the Rapture you visited before, the fact that plasmids are just like vigors and have the same names comes across as really overly convenient.
Don't make any sense, that's all.
If you don't like the arrangement, the bathysphere's back that way.
Nonetheless, there's true power in seeing known characters and places in a novel light. An angelic walk down a sterile white corridor turns to horror as you come face to face with the mentally unbalanced Sander Cohen. I'll remember his theater for its red velvet curtains, its stoic audience members, and its smoky air, not to mention for the horrors that I witnessed there. I will also remember Burial at Sea's ending, which lands with impressive visual impact, even though I'd already guessed some aspects of its reveal. Columbia and Rapture are intriguing places soaked in history and delusion, with a lifetime of tales their citizens might have told. Rather than telling those tales, Irrational Games started with a high concept and crammed a story into it. Burial at Sea Episode 1 gives you several stunning sights and sounds to remember it by. It's too bad they're in service of an awkward combination of worlds and mechanics that don't fully succeed.